Have you ever thought a single quarter in your pocket could be worth a fortune? Some drummer boy quarters and Washington quarters that look completely normal have sold for hundreds of thousands of dollars, and in rare cases even millions. These coins became valuable because of rare mint mistakes and extremely scarce versions that slipped into circulation. Many were spent and forgotten long before anyone realized what they were worth. Let's take a quick look at some of the most amazing quarter discoveries and see what hidden treasures might already be sitting in your change. Imagine pulling a worn quarter from your change and learning it could be worth more than a luxury car. That is exactly what has happened with a small number of 1776 to 1976 drummer boy quarters that carry a rare and mysterious D mint mark error. For years, these coins passed quietly from hand to hand. No alarms, no headlines, just ordinary-looking quarters hiding an extraordinary secret. When the United States Mint created the Bicentennial Quarter in 1975 and 1976, the goal was simple: celebrate 200 years of American independence. The drummer boy design was chosen as a symbol of the Revolutionary War, and hundreds of millions of these quarters were struck. Even today, most bicentennial quarters are still worth face value and show up in everyday change. But a very small number left the Denver Mint with serious mint mark problems. During busy production periods, some Denver dies developed issues. Mint marks became distorted, shifted, doubled, or only partially formed. In a few cases, the D mint mark appears misshaped or placed slightly higher than normal. These are not damage marks. They are true mint errors that happen during striking. The quarter discussed here belongs to that tiny group. Even though it shows normal circulation where consistent with a fine-grade coin, the bold drummer boy design and clear D mint mark anomaly make it incredibly rare. Experts believe fewer than 30 authenticated examples of this mispunched D variety exist today. That number is shocking when you consider that more than 800 million bicentennial quarters were struck at the Denver Mint. This proves an important point in coin collecting. High mintage does not mean high survival of rare errors. Most mistake coins were spent, lost, melted, or never recognized for what they were. Interest in bicentennial coins has grown fast over the past decade. Online treasure hunting videos, major coin shows, and social media have introduced these coins to millions of new collectors. As awareness grows, competition grows too. Collectors, investors, and even museums now chase elite bicentennial errors. When one of these rare D mint mark quarters appears at auction, bidding can become intense. Even circulated examples have reached astonishing prices. One strong example sold for well over $238,000 after a heated auction where multiple bidders believed the coin might not appear again for many years. Despite visible wear, this quarter is viewed as a historical artifact rather than ordinary pocket change. Many specialists believe values will continue rising because genuine examples are so few and demand keeps climbing. Today, a fine circulated example like this commonly brings prices starting in the hundreds of thousands, often landing between $238,000 and $300,000 depending on how clear the error is and how competitive bidding becomes. For many collectors, owning one of these rare drummer boy quarters is a once-in-a-lifetime achievement. And the most amazing part is this. Some of these coins may still be sitting in collections, jars, or forgotten rolls, waiting for someone to look a little closer. Next up is a coin that looks ordinary at first, but could be hiding real collectible value: the 1990 Washington quarter from the Denver Mint, featuring a D mint mark and rare red color shading. On the surface, it might seem like any other quarter from the early 90s, the type you might still find in pocket change. But for collectors, this coin has something special. It has retained part of its original red copper finish, making it a highly desirable piece. The Washington Quarter series has been a staple of American currency since 1932, and by 1990 millions of quarters were circulating every year. Most of these coins lost their original luster as they passed through countless hands, cash registers, and banks. But a very small number survived with traces of their original reddish hue intact. The coin we're looking at is one of those survivors, and it tells a story about careful handling and the luck of survival over 3 decades. What makes this coin truly remarkable is the combination of its D mint mark and the red color. The Denver Mint produced millions of 1990 quarters, but only a fraction of them kept any red copper tone. Coins like this one are prized because the red coloring is rare and adds visual appeal. In the world of numismatics, coins that preserve their original color are often worth significantly more than ordinary circulated examples, even if they show minor wear. The D mint mark confirms this coin was struck in Denver, where the mint consistently produced high-quality coins. But even with standard minting, collectors immediately notice the original red shading. Most 1990 quarters have long since faded to gray, But this coin retains a striking contrast between the red copper highlights and the darker surrounding metal. That makes it stand out in any collection. On the obverse, George Washington's portrait appears just as it has for decades, with liberty above his head and in God we trust along the side. The reverse shows the classic eagle design with outstretched wings, United States of America above and quarter dollar below. When the red color shines through on both sides, it adds depth and character that is rare among coins from this period. Condition plays an important role, even with color survival. This quarter may show some minor circulation wear, but the red shading gives it a collector's edge. Coins that retain even partial red coloring can sell for several $100s, while the most vibrant and well-preserved examples can command thousands. In some auction records, 1990D Washington quarters with strong red tones have sold for $22,500 to $50,000 depending on the intensity of the red and the coin's overall eye appeal. Collectors value coins like this because they represent a piece of history that has survived untouched. Unlike mint errors or rare misprints, these quarters weren't designed to be rare, they simply managed to avoid the wear and tarnish that destroyed most others. That natural survival is what makes them extraordinary. The coin's story is enhanced by its rarity in today's market. With millions minted in 1990, the vast majority are common gray quarters. Only a handful of surviving examples retain the original red copper look, especially with strong color on both sides and a clear Denver D mint mark. That scarcity is what drives collector demand and auction prices. In addition to color, this coin's value is supported by its historical significance. The Washington quarter design is instantly recognizable and has been a part of American life for decades. Owning a coin like this connects collectors to a tangible piece of history, something more meaningful than face value alone. For investors and collectors alike, a 1990D Washington quarter in red condition represents both a rare find and a solid investment. While typical circulated examples might only be worth $1, a red-shaded quarter with excellent eye appeal can reach $50,000 or more at auction. Some specialists predict that as interest grows in modern coins with preserved color, the value of these quarters could continue to rise steadily. This coin also teaches an important lesson. Rarity isn't always about errors or misprints. Sometimes it's about survival and originality. The 1990D Washington quarter with red color is a hidden treasure that rewards anyone who knows what to look for. A coin like this might still be hiding in old rolls, collections, or forgotten jars of spare change, waiting to reveal its true value. So, if you happen to find a 1990 Washington quarter with a Denver D mint mark that shows even a hint of red copper shading, don't overlook it. In the right condition, this seemingly ordinary coin could bring hundreds or even thousands of dollars to its lucky owner, turning everyday change into a piece of numismatic history. Next up is one of the most remarkable Washington quarters ever recorded, the 1995 large date quarter with a rare P mint mark error. At first glance, it looks unusual, even damaged, with a rusty, dark surface. But that's exactly what makes it so fascinating to collectors. Nothing about this coin is ordinary. The 1995 Washington quarter comes from the regular circulation series, a design that dates back to 1932 in honor of George Washington's 200th birthday. The familiar profile on the front, created by John Flanagan, has barely changed over the decades, which means any mistake immediately stands out. What sets this coin apart is its rare combination of two major features. First, it has the large date variety. Second, the P mint mark is in the wrong position and shape, making it a clear minting error. Collectors around the world chase coins like this because errors like these are exactly what make some quarters extremely valuable. The coin's surface is heavily worn and shows a rusty, unusual color. Normally, damage or discoloration would reduce value. But when paired with a rare mint error, these imperfections actually tell a story. Rusty tones often come from poor storage or chemical reactions over time, and in this case they make the coin even more distinctive. Combined with the large date and mint mark error, it is far from an ordinary 1995 quarter. Even though millions of Washington quarters were made that year, very few exist with this exact combination of features. The U.S. Mint does not track error coins because they were never intended to exist. Experts estimate that only a handful of these quarters survive with visible mint mark problems and unusual coloring. The front of the coin shows George Washington's profile with liberty above and in God we trust along the side. The back has the traditional eagle design. Some coins even show slight doubling near the date and mint mark, adding another layer of interest for serious collectors. Collectors are drawn to coins like this not just for rarity but for value. Over the years, Washington quarters with strong mint mark errors have sold for tens of thousands, and sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars. This particular coin, even with its rusty color and wear, is realistically valued at $250,000 or more at auction. Professional grading services have confirmed that, even in less than perfect condition, the combination of a large date, P mint mark error, and unique surface makes this coin highly desirable. Increasingly, wealthy collectors and investors are entering the market, which continues to push prices higher. This 1995 Washington quarter proves an important lesson for coin hunters. Even a damaged or unusual-looking coin can hold incredible value if it carries a rare mistake. Sometimes it's the flaws that make a coin unforgettable. Next up is a Washington quarter that has amazed collectors for years, the 1985 quarter from the Denver Mint, known for its large date and D mint mark error. At first glance, this coin looks battered, dark, and rusty. Most people would toss it aside without a second thought. But in the world of rare mint errors, what seems like damage can actually hide incredible value. By the mid-1980s, Washington quarters were everywhere. Millions passed through pockets, cash registers, and banks, and the mint was producing them quickly to keep up with demand. During this time, mistakes sometimes slipped through, and careful collectors began to notice unusual coins that didn't match the standard strikes. What makes this 1985 quarter extraordinary is the combination of its large date and the distorted D mint mark. The Denver mark is misaligned and shaped differently than normal, making it stand out to collectors who focus on mint mark errors. Coins like this are very rare and hard to find, especially in circulation. The coin's worn condition and dark, rusty surface add another layer to its story. Over time, exposure to moisture, chemicals, or poor storage caused oxidation, giving the metal its blackened and uneven tone. Normally, damage would lower a coin's value, but with rare mint errors the rules are different. In fact, this heavily worn look proves the coin survived decades of circulation when countless others were lost or melted down. Collectors often value this real-world history. The design remains the classic Washington quarter created by John Flanagan. George Washington's profile face is left with liberty above and in God we trust along the side. On the back, the familiar eagle spreads its wings, clutching arrows and an olive branch. Any flaw on such a well-known design jumps out immediately to trained eyes. Under close inspection, experts have identified subtle doubling and slight misalignment around the date and D mint mark. These technical imperfections confirm a striking or minting error, which is exactly what collectors search for even when the coin looks rough or worn. Although millions of 1985 quarters were minted, coins with this precise combination of a large date and D mint mark error are extremely scarce. The mint never issues official counts for mistakes, but numismatic records suggest that fewer than a few dozen examples exist today. Finding one in such a heavily damaged state makes it even more exceptional. In the world of error collecting, rarity outweighs condition. Even in poor shape, coins like this have consistently fetched high prices at auction because the error is genuine and dramatic. Some collectors even prefer coins that show real wear, as it tells a story of decades in circulation. Today, a 1985 Washington quarter with a large date and D mint mark error, even with its dark, rusty appearance, can realistically bring $253,000 or more at auction. This value reflects its extreme rarity, strong collector demand, and the history it represents. Coins with verified errors of this type have reached six-figure results despite heavy wear. Professional numismatists emphasize the importance of documentation, grading, and provenance for coins of this caliber. Owning a piece like this isn't just about money, it's about holding a genuine artifact from U.S. minting history, a coin that tells a story no ordinary quarter ever could. This 1985 D Washington quarter proves that even the most worn and damaged coins can hide extraordinary value. For collectors willing to look closely, history can reveal itself in the most unexpected places. Next up is a 1982 Washington quarter from the Philadelphia Mint, and at first glance, it might look like just another dirty, worn coin you'd find in a jar of change. The surface is dark, uneven, and covered in decades of grime. Most people would toss it aside without a second thought. But for collectors, even a coin that looks old and dirty can hide features that make it extremely valuable, sometimes worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. The 1982 P quarter comes from a time when millions of Washington quarters were being struck every year. By this point, the series had been circulating for nearly 50 years, and its design was instantly recognizable. The obverse displays George Washington's classic profile, with liberty above and in God we trust along the side. The reverse shows the familiar eagle with outstretched wings, flanked by United States of America and quarter dollar. On the surface it may seem ordinary, but collectors know to look deeper. What makes this coin potentially valuable is the combination of its P-mint mark and the subtle anomalies that sometimes appear on Philadelphia strikes from this year. While the mint was careful, the high volume of coins produced occasionally allowed small errors to slip through. These can include slightly off-center strikes, weakly struck areas, doubled letters or numbers, and tiny die cracks. On a coin that looks old and dirty, these features can be difficult to see at first, but when discovered, they instantly elevate a quarter from mundane to collectible. Even with heavy wear, a 1982p quarter can attract attention if a minting error is confirmed. Many of these coins retain traces of original copper under the surface grime, which collectors prize. The combination of a clear mint mark, surviving copper tone, and any minor minting flaw can push a coin's value far beyond face value. In today's market, serious collectors are willing to pay $50,000 to $75,000 for examples that show even subtle anomalies. The coin's condition tells a story of survival. The darkened surface, scratches, and uneven coloring indicate decades of circulation, likely through countless pockets, cash registers, and piggy banks. While some may see this as damage, experienced collectors see it as proof of authenticity, a coin that survived real-world use while maintaining its historic features. The grime and discoloration can also protect the underlying metal, preserving features that might have been lost if the coin had been polished or cleaned. Inspecting a coin like this under magnification can reveal its hidden secrets. Some 1982p quarters show doubling on the date, misaligned letters, or slight mint mark displacement. Even minor die cracks or planchet anomalies can add significant value, especially when combined with the coin's old, circulated appearance. These imperfections are exactly what make the coin rare and desirable to collectors today. While most 1982 Philadelphia quarters are common and sell for just a few dollars, examples with verified minting errors and preserved features can command prices approaching $75,000 or more in the right auction. Coins that retain some original red copper tone, even faintly visible beneath the grime, are particularly sought after. Some top examples with strong anomalies and collector-grade eye appeal have sold for $100,000 or higher, demonstrating how a seemingly ordinary coin can transform into a serious investment. What makes this coin even more exciting is its scarcity. Millions of 1982 quarters were struck, but the vast majority were ordinary and lost to circulation. Only a small fraction survived in a way that preserves both unique minting characteristics and original surface features. That scarcity, combined with the growing interest in Philadelphia mint errors from the 1980s, has steadily increased demand and auction prices over the past decade. Beyond value, this coin has historical significance. The 1982p quarter is part of the long-running Washington Quarter series, which honors America's first president and has been a central part of daily life for generations. Holding a coin like this connects collectors to history. It's not just money. It's a story of craftsmanship, survival, and the small quirks that make coin collecting so fascinating. For anyone willing to examine their old change carefully, a 1982p Washington quarter in dirty condition could be hiding something remarkable. Take the time to inspect the mint mark, the date, the lettering, and the edges. Look for doubling, die cracks, or unusual coloring. Even a heavily circulated coin can reveal rare features that bring life-changing value to the right collector. So don't overlook the old, dark, and grimy 1982p quarter. With the right anomalies, it could easily reach $75,000, $100,000 or more at auction. It's a reminder that sometimes the coins that seem worthless hold the biggest surprises, proving that history, rarity, and survival often matter far more than a shiny surface. Next up is a Washington quarter that might look ordinary at first, but it has stunned collectors for years: the 1991 quarter from the Denver Mint with a rare D mint mark. At first glance, it could be mistaken for any other quarter from the early 90s, the kind people used every day. But hidden in its familiar design is a rare combination of features that can make certain examples extremely valuable. By 1991, the Washington quarter had been in circulation for almost 6 decades. The design was instantly recognizable, and millions of quarters were produced each year for daily use. Because the design had been so consistent for so long, even small mistakes became noticeable to collectors who knew what to look for. What sets this coin apart is the large date variety paired with a D mint mark error. The numbers in the date are thicker and more prominent than usual, making the large date feature stand out clearly. On its own, the large date is uncommon, but combined with a mint mark anomaly, it becomes extremely rare. The D mint mark on this coin is slightly off, sometimes shifted, misshapen, or even doubled in some examples. These errors usually happen when the minting dies are misaligned or when debris interferes with the strike. Coins from the Denver Mint are generally very consistent, which makes this kind of flaw highly noticeable and desirable. Adding to the story is the coin's condition. This 1991 quarter shows heavy wear, uneven discoloration, and darkened patches from years of circulation or poor storage. Normally, such damage would reduce value, but with rare mint errors, condition matters far less than the mistake itself. Coins like this survive decades without being recognized, which is exactly why collectors prize them. The Washington Quarter has a long history. First released in 1932 to honor George Washington's 200th birthday, the coin features the familiar profile of Washington on the front, with liberty above and in God we trust along the side. The back shows the classic eagle design, a symbol seen daily by generations of Americans. Under magnification, collectors have spotted subtle irregularities around the date and the D mint mark. These tiny details confirm that the coin's unusual features are true minting errors, not damage that happened later. Although millions of quarters were struck in 1991, very few exist with this exact large date and D mint mark error. The U.S. Mint does not track mistakes, and many of these rare coins were likely spent, lost, or damaged before anyone realized what they were. Experts estimate that only a handful survive today, making them highly sought after. Demand for these error quarters has pushed auction prices to incredible levels. Even worn examples have sold for tens of thousands. And the most dramatic 1991 D large date errors have fetched over $247,000 when bidding was competitive. Collectors are drawn to this coin not just for the price, but for the story it tells. It shows how even in modern minting, errors could slip through, creating something rare and unexpected. Each coin carries a piece of history, evidence of human and mechanical imperfection that can turn ordinary change into extraordinary value. For those hunting rolls, old collections, or forgotten coins, the 1991 Washington Quarter with a large date and D mint mark is a reminder that history often hides in plain sight. Even a worn, overlooked coin can become a prized piece of American numismatic history, commanding attention and value far beyond what most would expect from a simple quarter.